What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to check in on Romance Dawn. It's the end of the year, the end of the second year of the One Piece TCG, and I think it's about time we check in on Romance Dawn to see what's happening. Because you see, I pay a lot of attention to this, as you guys might know. Honestly, you might have noticed I pay a lot of attention to this stuff. It's kind of what I do. And over on the official stores that we have here in the UK, they've actually got a Facebook page and all of that where they keep us up to date with stock. And I noticed this very, very recently. And what they basically said was, hey, here's a stock update. We've got in every store OP02 to OP09 and Premium Booster 01. They do actually have EB01 in Brighton and in Gateshead, that is the north and the south, but the London store in Camden actually doesn't have EB01 right now. But the point is, every set is in stock here, with the exception of Romance Dawn. Romance Dawn is the one and only set right now that is just out of stock in official stores. And what that basically means is that of every set that we've had for One Piece, Romance Dawn is the only one that if you really want a box, you're not going to get. Like, I'm probably not going to be able to find boxes of OPO 2, 3, 4, and 5 easily online. But I could take a little trip to London or, use one of my... I'm there pretty much once a month at the moment. Apparently lots of stuff happens in London. And I could use one of those trips to pick up boxes of everything else. But not Romance Dawn. Romance Dawn basically seems to be gone, and I'm not saying it's never going to be restocked. I don't know. I don't work for Bandai. I don't have that information. But I also think we need to have a look at what exactly is going on here, what singles prices are looking like, and what the trends are doing. Because basically, if Romance Dawn is gone or is on the way out, these cards are only going to get worse. Now, traditionally, I do a top 10 here, but I actually want to do a top 11, because in at number 11, we've got the parallel Kaido, the alternate art leader, Kaido. For what it's worth, not the cheapest alternate art leader. King is actually the cheapest alternate art leader. King is currently like a $30 card. Apparently, people don't like the OP01 Animal Pirates. Sorry about that. But if we have a look at Kaido here, we can see that actually... not only is it about like a $40 leader, but it's just gone down. We're expecting price spikes with the set going away, or at least becoming very difficult to find. That is generally what we would expect, but the Kaido leader here sitting and it's not just that it's sitting at $40. It's the fact that it's on the way down and has been going consistently down pretty much since release. And what this tells us very simply is... unplayable leaders don't hold value. Because I'm sorry, at this point we know the OP01 Kaido sucks. I like Kaido as a character. I think this card has a lot of potential. But no. We know Kaido isn't good right now. It's been here a while. So in at number 10, we've got another alternate art leader. It's Kouzuki Oden. And this is where things start to get a little bit weird. Because if we look at the last year of Kouzuki Oden, once again, we see a pretty clear downward trend. But actually, since the middle of November, for the last month, it's actually started peaking up again. It's sitting there at like $40. It's not some ridiculously expensive card, and I'm not claiming it is. But I'm saying that it is starting to creep up, but it hasn't got there yet. Once again, we're talking about an unplayable leader, or at least a bad leader. I've seen this top here and there occasionally. It's always fun. But they're just not holding their value. But yet even this one is starting to creep up. And I do think that one's kind of interesting. Also, as a side note, if you see these ones starting to creep up, I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future. But I can tell you that if you really want an Oden alternate art, if it was me personally, I wouldn't wait that much longer. Now, in at number 9, we've got ourselves Crocodile. And again, it's sitting about $50. But again, we can see big drop since release. And again, in the past month, it has actually started creeping up. But it's only gone up a few dollars. but it is starting to go up. So once again, we have the same thing going on. The leader as a whole, because it's not very playable, has not ended up jumping in price. It's gone consistently down, but it is now starting to creep up. And I do think as time goes by and Romance Dawn gets harder and harder to find, we're going to see this keep going. I'm not saying we're at the start of the turn here, but I'm saying look at the graphs. There is a chance we are at the start of the turn. Now, if we have a look at number 8, it's the Parallel Sanji, and this is very different. Because this one, now again, it was only kind of the end of October that it happened, but this one has jumped up. This one was kind of like a $60 card, dropped all the way down to a $20 card, and has jumped back up to a $53 card. And when we're looking at these older sets, like I say, the only set that sold out at all 3 of the official stores, in the UK at least, I think it's very important to note that they do tend, when they start going up, to just keep going up. Unless there's a massive restock, it of course changes everything, but I've not heard anything about that happening. It could, but I haven't heard it. In terms of the card, it's alright. Lets you add a card from your life to your hand and gain 2,000 power and 2 Rested Dawn. So basically you jump to a 2-cost 7k, and also you got to give up a life. But you're also a counter plus 2k, so it's a very good, very playable card. In at number 7, we've got the alternate art Roanoa Zoro by Akira Igawa. And this is a card that I just flatly refused to buy for a long time. I told you guys I wasn't paying $140 for this card. It's currently down to like $50. And I do think this might be the time I need to buy this card. I can't remember, there was an old video, and I'm sure one of you can remember. There was an old video where I told you I was not paying ridiculous money for this card. I think $50 is good. It's a playable card, although less so now than it used to be, but it's still amazing. And it's got maybe my favorite art in the entire game. Love Akira Igawa, but even for Akira Igawa, this is a particularly phenomenal card. And it's Zoro, who's very popular. Again, if you look at the last month, it is starting to creep up a little bit. But once again, it's just been a downwards trajectory. Of the 5 cards I've shown you so far, 4 of them have just gone down. It's only the Sanji, which is jumping back up again. Don't worry, I'm going to show you more that are. In at number 6, we got the alternate art leader Luffy, which is apparently around about $120. Although there aren't that many sales we've got for this one, so it is a little bit all over the place. We're using TCG Player for ease of comparison, but there haven't been many sales, which I do think is important. It can impact the data. But if we have a look at this one, what we see from the last year is it actually jumps up pretty sharply and then drops right back down again. This is an alternate art Luffy leader, right? So if it's ever good, it's probably going to end up with a very expensive card. We're just not there right now. And again, we see it jumping down a lot, which is something that's intriguing me about Romance Dawn. The amount of cards that are dropping over the course of a year. Take our number 5 card. Take the alternate art Law. Now, again, this used to be a much better card playability-wise than it is now, which is impacting things. But this is a card that topped out at like $420. Yes, really. And is now sitting at $155. Again, we have seen a very small, but still, a jump in the past month, which I do think is important. But there's something weird to me here about the fact that Romance Dawn, for all of it basically being near impossible to find, it is still, we're seeing the prices, well, being a bit lower than we would generally expect. Still being on a downward trajectory rather than going back up again. This stuff, I track this stuff a lot. This is very interesting to me. In at number 4, we got the Parallel Nami. Now, do remember that with Nami and also the Law, there are pre- and post-errata versions, okay? And they will impact the price of these cards. If you are a serious collector, it is very important you know which one you're buying, because there is a big difference in price between the two, and yes, that will impact the price of these cards. You have been warned. But Nami, we're putting at about a $170 card, and again, over the course of the year, we just see it going down. Now, it's still kept a lot of value, which is nice, but it's not really going up. It's stabilizing a little bit there at the bottom end, but this is another card that we would probably expect in other situations. I think we would expect this to be going up. Right now, it's not happening. I don't say that's a particularly good or bad thing. Honestly, if you've got the card and they're not going up, boo. If you've not got the card and you want to buy it and they're not going up, yay. But I do think it's interesting that with a set that is becoming incredibly difficult to find, we're just not seeing this. I've had local stores near me who have been restocking lately, and I've been picking up a bunch of older sets. I have not picked up any OP01. I've tried. I have not been successful. Now, the number 3 card in the set is Roanoa Zoro. I think at the moment the most playable of the OP01 leaders in the current meta. Very nice card. It amuses me because, you know, the Don X1 on your turn, all your characters gain 1,000 power. My first reaction upon seeing that card was, oh, cool. So it's just a pretty generic, vanilla, not particularly exciting leader. And actually, over time, it's proven to be the best leader from the set. Except for the next one, I'll explain in a second. Roanoa Zoro has just been there consistently since the beginning, but we've seen just a steady downwards trajectory, and we haven't even actually seen a bump in the last month. We've seen another fall. It's still $190. It's still an extremely expensive card as far as leaders go, but the downwards trajectory is real. Now, the number 2 card in the set is Don Quixote Doflamingo. Now, at this exact moment, this is obviously the best leader from OP01. What I mean is Zoro has been consistently the best leader from beginning to now. Don Quixote Doflamingo was good initially, took several sets off, and then recently had a bunch of new cards, which have given it a massive bump, and now Doflamingo is just an incredibly good leader again. So just to be clear, yes, I know this is better than Zoro right now. Zoro has been the most consistently good. Doflamingo went away and came back. Sitting at about a $220 card. And you'll see here, this is a weird one. Proper peaks and troughs. As recently as mid-October, it was a $300 card, but now it's down at about $220. But it's very playable, which does help to explain it. And then we finish off with Shanks. Now again, the number of sales here is quite low, so we need to take this with a little bit of a pinch of salt. But this has always been one of the biggest mangas. It's the original manga, and we've seen it creeping up to like, well over $2,000. Nowadays, it's about $1,000. It's about what you'll pay. You can pay more than that, don't get me wrong, but generally speaking, you're talking about $1,000. And it's weird because it's a bit lower than it was initially, but a lot lower than it was at its peak. But I think the point here is, very simply, Romance Dawn as a whole, it's not spiking like I would be expecting. Like I say, I just showed you that it's sold out like everywhere. And generally speaking, this is when the singles prices would start jumping. In the past month, we've seen a bunch of these cards taking a small tick upwards. I get the feeling, and this is not a promise or a guarantee or anything like that, but I do kind of get the feeling that we are close to these ones getting a bit silly. Close to really jumping in price. Right now, they are not spiking, and that alone is kind of weird. So there we go. That's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about all of this. Tell me which cards you've got from Romance Dawn. Tell me if there's any you've been meaning to pick up but haven't got round to yet. You might be running out of time. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.